For the record, I don't know if this is TOS or not, but, you know, in Texas, the violence doesn't stop. In Brownsville, Texas, a dude killed 8 people. George Alvarez, currently in custody, was in an SUV, a Range Rover. He ran a red light, lost control, flipped it on his side, is what they said on the news conference Monday. But he's currently facing manslaughter charges as he allegedly plowed his car into 18 pedestrians at Brownsville, Texas bus stop, killed 8 and injured 10 others. The crash happened at 8:29 Sunday near the Ozanam Center, according to the Brownsville police. Some of the victims were struck by the gray Range Rover were migrants under the care of Border Patrol, according to Brownsville police spokesman Martin Sandoval. Some were from Venezuela, and all the victims were males, Brownsville Police Chief Felix Sauceda said. The driver was 34-year-old George Alvarez, who allegedly tried to flee the scene but was stopped by others. That's what the police chief says. Alvarez, who has an extensive rap sheet, is in custody on charges including 8 counts of manslaughter. Authorities are saying they're waiting on the toxicology results. The FBI is working to determine if the crash was an intentional act, and if so, whether there was a domestic violent extremist motive behind it. Law enforcement sources told ABC News on Sunday the FBI is supporting local and state investigators to see if he had like a genuine intent to kill a bunch of like migrants potentially, or if this was an accident. Investigators have not commented on a possible motive or whether the crash was intentional. And that the American Civil Liberties Union said in a statement Sunday, "We grieve for the victims in Brownsville, Texas, who were run over outside of a migrant shelter where people from all around the world are seeking asylum and safety. We understand the motive is still under investigation. This horrific event comes after weeks of escalating anti-immigrant policy by making Texas politicians, policy making by Texas politicians, and while the Biden administration considers imposing new asylum ban aimed at deterring rather than welcoming migrants seeking protection." Here's the
in Texas,
CNN video.
Texas, after an SUV slammed into a crowd of people outside a homeless shelter that has been housing migrants. At least 8 people there were killed and several more were injured as police say they were waiting at a bus stop. The terrifying moment of impact was caught on surveillance. We're not going to show that exact moment. It is simply too awful. But at the top of the screen that we're going to show you in just a bit, you're going to see just how fast that SUV was traveling before it struck the group. CNN's Nick Valencia.
Wild that this is coming from Representative Henry Cuellar's office, by the way.
Is joining us now from the scene. Nick, I understand that you have some new information that you've learned this morning. Tell us.
That's right, Sarah. I just got off the phone with the Brownsville Police Department. They tell me at an upcoming press conference they expect to announce preliminary charges against the driver in that crash. They wouldn't share with me what those charges are, only to emphasize that they are preliminary and are subject to change based on their investigation. And according to the Brownsville Police Department, they're looking at this crash one of 3 ways. One, that it could have been, the driver could have been impaired or intoxicated. 2 is that there could have been some malfunction. Or the third, much more sinister, that this act could have been intentional. And that's what we're hearing this morning from eyewitnesses. It was earlier this morning I spoke to Cesar Romero. He was a Venezuelan national that was just across the street and saw his friends get run over by this Range Rover. He said there was no doubt in his mind this was intentional. He described to me a very chaotic scene, saying that the driver, in his eyes, appeared to be impaired, got out of the car, started shouting obscenities at the group of migrants standing at the bus stop, shouting at them in Spanish. And he shared with me this exclusive video that you'll only see here on CNN. This video shows the moments, according to Romero, after the driver tried to run away from the accident scene, and you could see a group of men trying to restrain him, physically assaulting him. I talked to the Brownsville Police Department about this video this morning. They were made aware of it also this morning, saying it's also part of their investigation and that they're looking at this with the district attorney to potentially bring charges against the men who are surrounding this driver, potentially bring assault charges. That has still not been decided.
What? Bro, Dog, in Texas, there was a black dude that walked into a restaurant with a toy gun, okay? And an old white guy who had a real gun literally fucking capped him, okay? There was a black dude with a toy gun who walked into a restaurant, was like trying to rob people. And the white guy got up, shot him in the head, put a couple in his fucking lifeless body on the ground, and walked out. Okay? They found him. They found him. They found the guy to celebrate it. You know what I mean? What's going on here? So like only, like, and these guys are still apprehending this person. You know what I mean? They're not like killing him. What the fuck is going on? You're really gonna tell me that like, oh yeah, these undocumented migrants that were standing on a fucking bus stop who just watched some of their friends get fucking plowed by this car and then apprehended the dude who just killed all of them, who was trying to run away from the scene. Well, those guys actually are guilty as well. Like, that's crazy.
Just yet, but it is part of their investigation. All of this, of course, Sarah, occurring with just days left before Title 42 expires, that Trump-era COVID policy, which has so many people anxious here as it sunsets, what it could mean for the migration flow coming across the U.S.-Mexico border. Sarah?
Thank you so much, Nick Valencia there, and with exclusive video showing the potential suspect in this case trying to be stopped by folks who were just there watching this happen. Kate?
And as Nick mentioned, in just 4 days, Title 42 will expire. Now, this is the Trump-era policy that allowed certain migrants to be quickly turned away at the border that set in during the pandemic. This also is meaning that the already overwhelmed...
What is this? Am I watching Fox News? 4 days preparing for the migrant surge, border crisis. Like, yo, CNN is crazy, dog.
Border system along Mexico is likely to get even worse, and very soon. At last check, roughly 7,000 encounters with migrants have been happening each day at the southern border. We want to show you some CNN drone video. As you can see this is from Ciudad Juarez in Mexico. You can see thousands more people camping out, waiting to cross over to the United States. CNN's Rosa Flores is in the border city of El Paso, Texas, where thousands of migrants, as we talked about last week, Rosa, thousands of migrants are already sleeping on the streets. What are you seeing there this morning?
You know, Kate, since we last spoke, the scene has changed a little bit, but for public safety reasons. Take a look behind me. These barricades went up over the weekend. Now, these went up before the incident and the big tragedy in Brownsville, but it's for the very same reason. As you look around, you'll see.
CNN is so crazy. I've never seen a covering both sides of an issue this aggressively. One, they implied heavily and even speculated that this guy didn't just have an out-of-control vehicle, but was deliberately trying to kill migrants at this bus stop. Then they did that's the first half of the coverage, because we don't know yet. Okay, we don't know. Then they paused and went to, okay, let's go to the big screen now. The border crisis is happening, and started doing white nativist racial agitation that would probably fucking create, like, you know, some racial animosity within Americans that are watching the coverage, to like cover the immigrant crisis on such terms like I'm watching Fox News. It's like weird. Very weird. They're on the one side, they're like, yeah, this is probably a racial component to it. Probably a racial component to it. Also, it's good that there's a racial component to it. We should do more of these. What the fuck? What they did is possibly stochastic terrorism. Also, we should do more of it. Here's why.
See, there are hundreds of migrants just simply on this street. At last check, according to city officials here in the city of El Paso, more than 2,000 migrants were sleeping in the streets of El Paso. Now, what we have seen is simply more resources that are being brought out here to make sure that the individuals have a place to go to the bathroom. We've seen a lot of lines for food because they really have to be in line for everything out here. You'll also see more blankets to protect themselves from the shade. Now, about the flow, it's not stopping. The Border Patrol chief here from El Paso tweeting dramatic images. Take a look at this video. These are individuals that have turned themselves into border authorities, and they still need to be processed. And Kate, that's a clear indication that the flow is not stopping. And I can tell you, I've been talking to communities from Tijuana to Brownsville and all along the U.S. southern border. What I'm hearing is that they're all seeing an influx of migrants. Kate?
And Rosa, the Texas governor, he made an announcement this morning regarding the border. What is he saying?
You know, he made an announcement regarding a tactical team that he says that he is deploying. He says
15,000 active duty service members have been deployed to the fucking border, by the way. I think, right? Isn't that right? I think those numbers are, and that's not even Greg Abbott. No, I'm not even talking about Greg Abbott. No, 15. Or is it 1,500? I might be getting the wrong. I love the Biden administration doing like the exact same shit that the Trump administration did, but like with a hint of liberalism. So it's like, it's not the same, guys. Like, I mean, this is not like the violent white nativist immigration policy at display. You know what I mean? Who's a good guy? Great. Awesome. It's sick. Thank you, CNN. CNN, when Trump was doing this, was literally like, Donald Trump is a violent white supremacist, which, by the way, not wrong, okay? And he's building concentration camps. CNN, when Joe Biden is doing it, we need to be preparing for the migrant surge. These guys are going to come and rape and pillage. I mean, what the fuck's going on? We need the tanks. Roll the tanks. Biden's not doing enough. Yeah, I mean, this is real. Yeah, new objective CNN appears to be making itself objectively right-wing. Yep.
Up to 10,000 National Guard members and 1,200 Texas DPS troopers. Now, he says that they're going to concentrate on hot spots like El Paso and the Rio Grande Valley. Take a listen.
Right now, as we're speaking, the Texas National Guard is loading Black Hawk helicopters and C-130s, deploying specially trained National Guard members for the Texas Tactical Border Force. They will be deployed to hot spots along the border to intercept, to repel, and to turn back migrants who are trying to enter Texas illegally.
And Kate, just to clarify what the governor is saying there, these tactical teams, what they do, and we've seen this on the border, they deploy concertina wire, which changes the flow of the migration, but the migration, as you saw and as you see around me, is not stopping. Kate?
Rosa, thank you so much.